So what we're gonna cover today is variables. So what's variables? A variable is used to store information. Now let's go back to our code and talk about how variables work. This is default Unity script. It includes code that Unity is going to need on the top of the file, and it includes two default methods, start and update, which Unity will automatically call. Start is called at the beginning of the class, and update will be called during the game. A variable requires type. A type determines what kind of data is going to be stored inside the variable. C# have several primitives such as string, float, double, integer, some data types, some dynamic data types, and some static data types such as tables and lists. So before we see the difference between the static and the dynamic data types, let's try to declare um, some variables. So let's try to declare a new string. So string, it represents any text. So let's try to give it a name. So string, let's say name, and then next we need to use an equal sign in order to set a value to the variable. So string name equal to Laura. Then we finish with a semicolon. Then we save our code, we come back to Unity, then we try to attach our script, for example, for our game object for the camera. So it is here. We can declare, for example, let's try something, debug.log, the name is class name. So automatically it will be printed the name is the value of the name variable. So the name is Laura. When you play our game, it will be automatically printed on the console. So the name is Laura. Let's try to declare some other variables. String, for example, integer, for example, x is an integer equal to 10. For example, float, it will be position equal to 10 0f. We can declare a double, we can declare a boolean. So boolean be y, for example, equal to true. So by default, a boolean variable is by default it's going to be false by default. So when we save our code, nothing is shown here in the inspector window. So we need to add some code. We need to set it to a public. So a public variable is usually seen, we can see it here in the inspector part with the name of the variable and with the value if it is set. So for example, when we work with the boolean, let's try to work with boolean y. So public boolean y. So it's going to be by default this variable is taking the last variable we give it to it. So when we hit play. Okay, so let's try to work with some tables. So if we want to declare table public string, it's going to be a table of strings. Let's call it names equal to a new string. So names, it's gonna be 3. Sorry, when we save the inspector part, we see that there is a new size is 3 as we give it the code. So we can give Lisa, Laura and Annie. So those are our names. For example, if we want to add the names in the declaration section all together, so we need to type public string public string names equal to new string, for example of 2, then for example Lisa and Laura. If you want to work with some dynamic lists, you need before you type your list and start declaration and working with it, you need to add this code. So you need to import this library in order to use lists. So what's the difference between lists and tables? So a table is a static data type. What means a static data type? So when we declare a table of 2 variables or of 2 strings, that means it will be 2. We can't update the table size. It will be always equal to 2. But when we are working with lists, we can declare a list of five uh, variables. Then we can add a new variable to that list. We can add a new. For example, the size of our list is 5. When we add a new student or we add a new name, it will be automatically increased by 1, incremented by 1. So how to declare a list? So it's so easy. For example, public list. This list is gonna be a string list. So animals. So we declare our list. So if we save our work here in this part, so there is animals. You see there is not a big difference but in the inspector window between animals and names, but the difference is that in names is a table and it's a static data type, but an animals is a list and it is a dynamic data type. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial. See you in the next tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you next week. Thank you so much.